we have to do an interview before you go for internships, right? And in that kind of a case, if you are someone who was never interested in the language, you'll be so stressed. I know of people who are unable to go for their practice because they failed to pass the interview, the language interview, and it is not a position you want to find yourself in. So immediately you get into Finland, start learning the language. In fact, before you even get to Finland, start learning the language, right? Yes, so hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking in. So yes, I'm actually testing this my mic. I hope it's working. Yeah, so while I'm testing this mic, I'll just be talking about learning languages in Finland, right? So as someone who, I think one of the main challenges of nurses in Finland or foreigners in Finland has to do with the language, right? And as someone who has been able to learn both the Finnish and Swedish language and also other languages together, I think I give a little advice on how you can be able to tackle this. Now, background, okay, unfortunately, is that the schools here in Finland, they don't really give the availability of language studies, right, as much as required. For example, I have an experience from another place where before you move into your original program that you came to the country to study, you have to study the language for 1 academic year. And that gives you a solid base for you to be able to continue the language. And then after graduation, we see that your language is sufficient enough that you can be able to get into the work life. But unfortunately, we don't have that in Finland here. And so most of times, most schools, they just give you like the basics of the language. And if you have to get to a sufficient, a good language level, let's say a B1 level where you need to be able to integrate to the work life, you have to do a personal work. And yeah, with that said, I also got a message from someone who was asking me about how they can learn language, right? Finnish especially, because they have been trying to use Duolingo, and unfortunately Duolingo has not been helping them as much. So with that said, I want to give a little bit of tips and tricks how you can learn the language. First of all, personally, I made sure that I studied all the language courses I could find in my school. That was basic Finnish, basic Swedish, professional Finnish, Swedish for nurses, Finnish for nurses. I studied everything, and then I also made use of extra apps and things that helped me to grow in the language, which is what I will mention here, right? So, for example, personally, I tried using Duolingo in the beginning stage of my language learning, and it didn't really help because I don't know, for some reason, I felt like Duolingo was more stressful for me compared to every other apps, right? But then I found Monthly. That's one of the first apps that I am recommending to you. Monthly has a paid and a free version, right? For someone like me, I was using a lot of different apps all together, so I went for the free version because I could not be paying for every single app. However, if you find that you want to focus on just one app after watching this video to the end, then you can decide if you want to take the paid version because it's going to give you a lot more access, right? Yeah. So with Monthly, you have like base daily streaks or daily tasks that you have to do, and with the daily tasks, you have like conversation that you are asked to pronounce word a certain way. It's almost like Duolingo, but I feel like it's more interactive compared to how Duolingo is. Yes. So then the second app that I also made use of when learning the language was Memorize. Memorize is also very, very important for me, I think, because there it has a session where you can be able to hear like real language, like language conversations from real people. Because the thing with Duolingo is that you get to hear like a robot or an AI talking, right? And it's not really the accent and every other thing doesn't really sound like so real compared to when you are hearing like a real voice from a real human in a real life setting going on. And I think that's actually one thing about Memorize that makes it so special, in my opinion. And also, it's not very tedious. You can do it at your own pace, depending on how fast you want to learn the language. And then moving on to the third app that I'm going to mention, the third app is actually Hello Talk. And for me, when I started using Hello Talk, I kind of observed Hello Talk like TikTok for me, because there on Hello Talk, depending on the language that you wanted to learn, just like in TikTok, you are scrolling and you find different talk rooms. For example, I'll say it's talk room, just like on TikTok where you can scroll, you find different talk rooms where people speak different languages. So depending on the language, your language of interest, which in this case is either Finnish or Swedish, right? You get to sign up and follow those people. You log in on their page and you can start asking them questions and have that real feel of how a language should be. Because most of the times people get to study languages, right? You study a language but you don't get that real life feel of it. And sometimes when you are faced in a real life situation and the people are either talking so fast or they are speaking in a little bit of accent, it can become very challenging, and you want to acquaint yourself more with that rather than just using the AI and robot. Yeah, because you'll be working in a real life setting. So yeah, not to make this video very long, I did make mention of Monthly, which has a pre and paid version. Memorize, both, it also has a pre and a paid version, and also Hello Talk. So you can make sure to try out any of them and then you'll be able to decide on which you want to go for. And also get back to me if you need one-on-one coaching on how to study the language. I don't want to make this video very long, but if more questions are coming with regards to language learning, then I could actually find a way to create a session for you guys. Yes, and also I'll be able to make a video later on concerning how to pass the IQ test. Yeah, because of course I wrote my IQ test in Swedish and I passed it the first time, which I also encourage a lot of people. I've been having people asking me to coach them on how to prepare for the IQ test, which I'm still trying to put the system together. So yes, that one is not yet out, but if you're just interested about learning a language, I could definitely guide you and coach you on how to do so. If this video is not sufficient enough for you want to learn. So lastly, I want to say that when you come into Finland, that is the first thing you need to focus on, learning the language, and learning the language alongside with your studies, so that you don't come to a point where you are so much under pressure that you are trying to, for example, learn the language. You want the language to get into your brain so fast that you become more stressed and tired about it. For example, when I was in school, we had to do an interview before you go for internships, right? And in that kind of a case, if you are someone who was never interested in the language, you'll be so stressed. I know of people who are unable to go for their practice because they failed to pass the interview, the language interview, and it is not a position you want to find yourself in. So immediately you get into Finland, start learning the language. In fact, before you even get to Finland, start learning the language, right? And so when you get here, at least you would have known a few words and you'll be working towards, A2 and B1 of your language learning, which will make the whole journey easier for you, integration easier for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to like, comment, and share. And also, ask more questions, engage with me in the comment section below. Put this video up so that other people can listen to this video and learn and be able to get this language burden off their shoulders, because I really do understand how it can be very difficult when you are trying to learn a language that under pressure. Yes, yeah, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.